Hello and welcome to Investors Hangout. This weekly interaction to help you learn and understand savings and investment issues is brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. Now, over the past few months, we've been hearing news about a lot of big tech companies handing over pink slips to their employees. Companies like Twitter, Amazon, Byju's, a lot of them have been slashing their workforces. And while it is extremely saddening to hear such news, it is also an eye-opener of sorts. A call that probably, we should be prepared because this can happen to any one of us anytime. So today we'll give you a 3-step solution to battle job loss so that even without job, you don't go without money. Watch today's episode carefully.
That should not be your starting point. It's very difficult to relate a recession or a global recession to your job. Assess your situation independently. There are people who will be losing job for a variety of reasons. There are people who are working in startups and the startup might run short of money, or the startup will face a squeeze. So your problem is going to be unique and you have to prepare for it. Yes, there is an issue. Global recession, American recession, and for the first time that market, particularly America, is witnessing inflation of a scale which is unprecedented, and unprecedented in the sense that they have not witnessed inflation in the last 30 years. And for the first time they see the phenomenal rising prices, which we Indians are very much used to. So for them the world has changed completely. And what kind of impact it will have? What kind of impact it will have on jobs? The kind of jobs which we sitting in India work for them, and it can have major implication for people working in the software services company, people working in startups which are funded by by venture capitalists in there. So there could be a change of mind. People can get apprehensive, and if they become apprehensive about their future, or they will just tighten the purse, and it will have an implication and you will lose your job, and it will be very difficult to relate what is going on. So just get a sense of where do you stand and prepare accordingly. Preparing well could mean different things for different people. So if you don't have any dependents, you don't have to prepare much. But if you have some young children and you have to take care of them, or you are responsible for them, then make sure that you have adequate emergency fund. What is that emergency fund? That emergency fund typically is 6 months of living expenses. That is the time you are likely to take in looking for a job. And what are the other there are other precautions which you can take, which can make this whole transition or a phase of unemployment not very taxing, because if you make sure that whenever you lose a job, you are able to negotiate or at least have one for yourself, a health insurance, because that can make your life very difficult just in case that particular phase of not having a job coincides with your with a bad health or sickness or illness in the family. That's one. The other is that make sure that you have 6 months of living expenses. That will really be very reassuring for you. It will not be a confidence erosion for you, and the scale of this needs tweaking depending on if you also have your parents living with you and they are dependent, then it should be little more. And where to have this money, where to park this money, that comes later. But having this estimation of a reasonable kind in a little lavish way. Do some liberal estimation. If you think you can manage in a lakh of rupees for the next 3 months, provide for 1,20,000. Be little liberal with your estimation, because things won't go. It is better to have a margin of error on the other side. So just having little more will be helpful. If you are able to do your estimation liberally, and you face a situation or you face an amount which you think you can't do it, you won't get started. Do that estimation anyway. And even if it takes much longer, even if it takes much longer than you think you should, put that plan into motion. You thought that you can build that amount in next 1 year, but it might take 2.5 years. Let it be. Put that plan in motion. That is the way to start, because getting started is the biggest challenge when it comes to deferring your spending today and postponing your consumption. So it is very important to be disciplined about your savings and investment plan and put that plan into motion immediately. Where to put your emergency money? There are 3 layers of it, and you should have all the 3 gradually. One is to have some amount of money which should be there in your cupboard or in your wallet. It should be handy. Just in case you have a real emergency, that money should be handy. Then the second thing is, you should have a small fixed deposit. A small meaning, do your own estimation, and it should be in a sweep account, so that you can use your ATM card to take that money out if you need it without any notice. And the third is that a kind amount of money which should be lying in an ultra short term bond fund, so that in few days time, if you need the money, if you have an emergency where you need to be supported, it will generate some adequate return, meaningful return. At the same time, it will be accessible. That money can be had anytime. Considering that we might get into a recession, or even if you don't get into a recession, you lose your job. Losing your job will also coincide with a market not doing well, market tanking, and that is why you should always have an asset allocation. In good times, people forget about it, and in bad times, remembering it doesn't help. So that is why you should have an asset allocation, and the asset allocation principle should be very simple. When you don't need the money for 5-7 years, you should be substantially into equity. When you need the money in next 3 to 5 years, you should be substantially into fixed income and nominally into equity. And making sure that you have this will not give you a heartburn, because when you lose your job, that coincides with a falling market or a crumbling market, and that is when you will see all your lifetime accumulation also going down in value. That is very disappointing, and that can also force you to do something which may be injurious to you financially, because that is the time when we panic and we try to pull our money out, and that is generally the wrong time. So having your asset allocation, sticking to it, and sticking to it based on your situation rather than the state of the market is very important. So if you have your asset allocation, you will not panic, and you will feel happy that you have it.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you've got your takeaways from this episode. Keep watching this space for more information. If you like the show, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take care. Bye for now.